Alright, guys, so tomorrow is going to be a trading day. So I just want to, I guess, get hyped a little, right? Just a little. But I'm just still tempting my excitement here. And this is why I've been going through Roaring Kitty kind of live stream, a stroll in a memory lane in the past here. Now, this is speaking to the sentiment of the market at the time about GameStop, and this is at the point where GameStop was at $65. You're gonna see in a minute here after this one. So I think that's around what it is today, to be honest. Let me do the math real quick. So times 4. So yes, around the same price point that it is today. And this is back when Ryan Cohen joined the board already, was able to successfully fight his way into the board, sitting on the board of director right now, and make his magic happen. And of course, this type of sentiment is going to return back now that he is a CEO and has been successful at, turning the company around, in my opinion, right? Of course, this type of, battle is going to, kind of play out. Some people are gonna not believe in him. Some people is going to give him no credit whatsoever. Some people is going to give him an exuberant amount of credit, But to me, I'm trying to tame my excitement here. But this is the live stream that, most people want to watch. I'm gonna speed him up a little bit here. But if you look at the view here, over 1 million view right there. But again, this is a point where people were excited about the price movement of the stock, and I'm sure people were flocking in. But again, even at that time frame, I don't think he had 500,000 subscriber at the time. Again, it happens after it's already blew up in the media already. So at this price point, like I said, it's at the point where Ryan Cohen was sitting at the board of director already, people were kind of excited about the future of the company, right? Keep in mind too, that was then at the same price point, close to the same price point as today. So if you were to account for the split and all that stuff, $16.97 right here times 4, that would be $67. And right now, this is the live stream that it was $65. Okay, so let's listen in, and I kind of agree with what Roaring Kitty is saying here. I might end a little bit in the middle or whatever too. I'm not going to show the whole 7 hours here. I'm going to show a snippet of it here. Again, I'm going to speed him up a little bit, so he's going to talk really fast, or sounds very fast. Okay.
Last Wednesday, and then at that time we said the same thing. Let's see where it ends the next couple of weeks, right? Let's see how it ends like 10 days out. Hopefully y'all hear me say that all the time, right? And here it is. It's up significantly.
Now, keep in mind too, remember his previous live stream, like the when he bought in, it was $4. So he's been 10xing his money, or more than 10x his money at this time period.
Higher, right? That's difficult to predict. Talk about the difficulty of the short-term price action, right? It's so difficult to forecast that type of stuff. Borderline impossible for like an individual investor, right? So tough. But at least today we could just look back on not just today's action, right, which is huge, a huge move, but just look back over the 6 months. I mean, it's just incredible, right? It was a very quick move up this month, right? But many of us thought like it was huge news for Cohen and them to join the board. So obviously, one of my few tabs I got open, Ryan effing Cohen. I mean, is there any doubt? Ryan Cohen, cheers to you, my man. Cheers to you. Congratulations to you. Just what a move, right? In my opinion, and I suspect many others, I think the stock is deserving of this move because of Ryan Cohen and what he represents. And I've said this a number of times at this point, but so excited to see what is ahead for this company, right? And now what you're seeing is the rest of the market, right? They're getting real excited for what lies ahead, and that's cool to see. That's real cool to see. So yeah, smart run up though, right? What was this? That was last Wednesday, right? So it's tripled. It's tripled in like 10 days, right? That's absurd. That's a huge move. You can see it overbought. And we were saying the other day, right? It was crazy overbought. This is why that short-term price action is so difficult to break. It was crazy overbought, right? And you say, well, I'll come up with a short-term bear thesis, right? That it will just come back down. But this is the thing. Overbought can stay overbought, remain overbought, even get more overbought. So it's so difficult to predict that I encourage you, educational channel, right? I encourage you to, as an individual investor, it's arguably not worth the effort to try to forecast those short-term moves. It's so tough. It's so much, in my opinion, easier to look over that longer-term, like the longer-term future of the business. I think that's an easier analysis for an individual investor. I mean, and then you factor in like the level of short interest and all that stuff. It's even more difficult to try to forecast these moves, right? Up, down, whatever. It's just so challenging to do that. But all else equal, as we always say, all else equal, if you're bullish, if you're long, it's nice to see it, right? Nice to see it go up, right? All else equal, you like to see that, of course. And there it is, rising back up on the overbought. So just a cool looking chart, a very bullish looking chart. Just huge price. So 4.5 billion and crazy volume. What was the volume? That's incredible. This is volume, right? How many times have you seen me pull up that volume and be like, yo, there's just not that much volume for a stock like this. A stock with the characteristics like this could have substantially more volume. We're talking like 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. That's not that much. This is like, does that go without saying? This right there? Can I get it? That's a lot of volume. And it's the market going back and forth, like trying to figure out where to price. It can be challenging to the market to try to go back and forth. What is the fair value for this? It's challenging to get to. And so you see a lot of volatility in this stuff, right? So that's what I got. The chart I got. Oh, this was some solid DD. So let's start with this. Shout out to Rod. I saw Rod here talking GameStop. I encourage you to check this out. He was out there. He was on there for a while talking all about the GameStop story. He's got. You know what? And check out
I think that's the guy who did the research. I'll put it out in the Reddit or something.
Yeah. I encourage you also to check out Rod's. Let me bring this over. Rod was also on a podcast a while back, right? He where he talked about the story a bit. Oh, is it there? Oh, I don't have it up. Oh, you got a pin. Okay, Rob was on a podcast back in December. Check that out because he went into the backstory of GameStop.
Yeah, I'm gonna slow him down a little bit.
And so if you're looking to get caught up on the story, he's talking about it back in December, like what's unfolding here, what's the history of GameStop, what had been happening up till that point, and then here he was talking more about this today. And there's been some solid DD that they post on this website here. I thought this did a great job of laying out the different paths that a company like GameStop could take. I encourage you to check that out. But again, Rob was just talking about this today, so shout out to Rod. Nice work, man. Great work. And that was today. Yeah, that was today. So talking about that stuff, but that's pretty much it. So what I would say is, as far as like this GameStop story, the GameStop story is going right, and that's what many people have been describing it as such. I myself too, like that. What I see a lot of people going back and forth on talking about. What the debate has been about, and for good reason. There should be a debate. There should be a discussion is what is the future of GameStop going to look like? And I think the dissension between like bulls and bears, I think it comes down to maybe some of the more bearish folks maybe more focused on the legacy business, which has had its challenges. It is up against its secular risks. There's no doubt about that. But most importantly, and this is what you're starting to see the market pricing in, whether you agreed or not, this is what you're seeing the market pricing is the pivot for the company, right? Because the value of the business is the discounted future free cash flows, right? What are those going to be? And that's up for debate, up for discussion. What are those future paths of GameStop going to be? Can they successfully execute? These are all reasonable points that need to be discussed. But I feel as though it seems like folks are almost kind of just writing off that as a possibility. I think too much. I think the market has been writing off that too much. And I think the addition of like Ryan Cohen getting more involved in stuff, it's effectively a bet on him and his vision. And like I've said, There's never any guarantee of execution of any particular path for any company, right? Just talking generally, remove GameStop from it. There's no guarantee of any of that. The best you can do is kind of assess the unique position a company might be on, the different levers they might be able to pull, different aspects of their business model that they can leverage in different ways going down, right? And it should be debate, what are they? Can they do it? Blah, blah, blah. That's fair. But then you say, okay, well, what if they do go down this path or that path? And if they got a guy like this leading the way, can't you imagine that he might be able to succeed on that front, especially if he's super motivated? You've heard me say many times in the past with the management team, sometimes it's hugely important just to have a management team that cares about the future of the business. It's hugely valuable. I can't remember. I feel like I've said that, but it's hugely valuable to have that. And I think that's what you have here in Cohen, the crew he brought in, but also the existing management team. You've heard me say I feel like they've executed fairly well by and large. And now you got a team that I think is motivated to crush it moving forward. I do think that. So then the question, okay, they're motivated, but then can they succeed? This is fair. But then this is where the debate comes. It's like, well, some people are willing to assign a higher probability to that based on the background and, again, unique position, blah, 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 all that stuff. And other folks maybe aren't willing to assign as high a probability. I think that's the crux of it. As I read about all the takes this past week, I do my best to try to read everything, see both sides of it. And I think that's just the crux of it, is that the debate over their current position and not so much over the risk to that legacy business. I feel like most people are on board with the risk to the legacy business. It seems like bulls and bears generally agree with that. And so it's odd that so many people focus on that aspect. It should be about, okay, what are these future paths? And this is what I thought they did. This does a good job here. Like, and there's a PDF report here that goes into the left. You can disagree with the numbers, right? It's transparent and stuff like that, no problem. But at least the different pathways the company could go down, And there's not much out there right now about that, not publicly available anyway, kind of talking about here's what a company like this could do, here's what they could do. And yeah, it just seems to me that there hasn't been that much. And now it's kind of, there's been more talk about it, at least in the past couple months. But it was really quiet, not much about it. So I thought this was a good article, just talking about that stuff. And hopefully you see more and more analysts at least discussing what those, just discussing it, not even assigning probability, just talking about, hey, what could a company like this do? Regardless, what's more important, and we'll get to, or will be uncovered, is what is GameStop going to do moving forward, right? So, like, what are we going to hear from them? Who knows when it's going to happen? It could be weeks, it could be months down the line, it could be tomorrow. Who the hell knows? But it will be exciting once they release, here's the path we're taking. Then it will be even, it's an easier debate at least, right? Because you go, oh, here's the path they're taking, that won't work. Here, for right now, it's kind of conjecture, trying to figure out. But I think some folks are having, are just using their imagination a bit more than others, I think. And yeah, and then but it's going to be a continual healthy debate about this stuff, right? That's how this stuff works. That's how you make a market, right? There's people, you go back and forth on this stuff. That's it. That's what makes a market. And as far as like price action, this is a strong move up. Make no doubt about strong move up in the month of January, right? Huge move up. And it's overbought. Like I said, I made this case a couple days ago. That bearish short-term case. You know what I mean? Like you can make a short-term bearish case. And look at this shit. It's up 50%. So it's up 50%, but that same thesis still holds. With a stock like this, very volatile stock, both ways, up, down, you should build into models a pullback of some sort. By the same token, you can also build into your models a continuation. It goes both ways. It's so difficult to forecast that stuff, the short-term stuff, right? And that's why, and I would say too, like everyone's gonna have different. Remember, there's no advice to be given. Everyone's going to have that unique advice that would be given to them, right? There's no advice that can be given to anybody. Again, if anyone has questions, you'd sit down with a financial professional who can learn more about your situation. And the answer is like, oh, what should I do here? What should I do there? It's always going to vary from person to person, values and goals and financial needs, financial situation and so forth. That stuff really matters to that answer. So, I mean, so generally speaking, when you remove the ticker GameStop, remove GME from the discussion. When you have a strong run up in a stock, it can make sense to take profits along the way. Like I said, to maintain your sanity, generally speaking, average in, average out. That can be a good process to have for any stock. It's so tough to time these things, and again, especially looking out a couple of months. Good luck trying to forecast these types of things. You can't. You know what I mean? You make the decision based on your situation, and you got to be okay with it. You do as best as you can to remain emotionally neutral about this stuff. It's really all you can do for yourself is do your best to be okay no matter what happens. And all I would say is that with a stock like this, especially now volatile stock, you got to be okay with it going either way or whatever, and you got to just do what's best for yourself. And only you can know that. That's why we can only talk about this from an educational standpoint. And just a good rule of thumb is average in, average out based on your needs and wants and all that stuff. That's it, right? And do like a bit of a pre-mortem, right? Imagine to yourself, what if the stock doubles next week? How would you feel about your decision? How would you feel about your or 2 weeks out, right? Put yourself in next week. Well, how would you feel about that? What if it got cut in half, right? How would you feel about that? Only you got to, it's like a little bit of introspection is required. So you do your best with that. That's all. And you be okay. You got to be okay with that. The short-term stuff so difficult. So what I would say, like my continual focus is that long-term stuff, right? And this is the thing. You can be bullish over the long term on a company, right? You can be super bullish. It can still make sense to take profits, to add, to add and to trim all the way through, because it is not uncommon at all for any stock to get ahead itself, to fall behind itself, for it to go all over the place on a trajectory. Look no further than GameStop the past 6 months. There have been opportunities to add and trim along the way. And as you all know by now, I have been bullish on it, right? But that's not to say there haven't been plenty of opportunities to trim, to add, to trim, to add. There's been tons of opportunities, right? And that continues. And so again, I'm just trying to come at it from like an educational side, because that's all you can do. There's no, if anyone, generally, like if anyone has strong conviction about where the stock is headed in the short term, you should be cautious with something like that, because that stuff is so difficult to know. It is dangerous to bet on that stuff. It's very, very risky to bet on short-term price action either way. So you know what I mean? It's just an easier path to look out into the future. You know what I mean? I just wanted to share that, because you can still be bullish on it, and it can still make sense to take profits along the way. And at the same token, not the same token, but like there's also a case to be made to like the Warren Buffett approach, right? If you got a winner that you can continue investing and just hold, you're in it for the long-term future. You don't give a shit if the stock price gets halved next week, because it doesn't matter to you. You're in it for 5 years, for 10 years. That's a possible path too. You don't have to add or trim. So there's all these different paths you can take that no one can really answer for anybody, because it's so unique to you. And you got to be real with yourself. Like we say, you got to keep it real. Ask yourself those things. But I feel like in a move like this, it's good to just pause for a moment, ask yourself that stuff. But a huge move, no doubt. Cheers, everybody. Is there anything else? There's not much to bring up.
yeah, that whole rant, I didn't want to like jump in because it's such an important rant right there. Because again, like it's just he couldn't not have said it better. It's a very, very personal to to all of you. When you see the price action like this, and the sentiment's going to come back. I'm telling you that this company is doing much better than it was at the time when he was speaking about all this stuff, right? The speculation has been real. It's been realized. So to solidify that, back then, of course, it was just all speculating and all that stuff, right? But again, now we have the data point to go by. By data point, I mean balance sheets, right? That Ryan Cohen has been, the leadership, Ryan Cohen, and Matthew Furlong too. I mean, I'm not discounting his effort here, but the leadership has been demonstrating that they're able to be successful at the very least, turning this company around, or not bleeding cash anymore, because of the operational expenses and all that stuff is being massaged to the point where it's workable at this point. And one of the people that was very negative on Moran's stream, I think his name was Risky Bet, or something like that, or Whiskey Bet, came in and say, oh, they're not doing anything, they're just putting out fire. Well, putting out fire is doing something. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what, you want it to continue to burn? And what do you think happens after the fire being put out? And that is a building stage, right? You continue to build until you couldn't build anymore. And so again, these type of, even with the criticism of Ryan Cohen didn't do anything, they're just putting out the fire that is GameStop, as if that that ruckus of a pile of burning house is not valuable. Well, the house may be valuable, but the land value of that burning lot is much more valuable than the house, actually, right? In the future terms, obviously. So if you make that comparison, GameStop is being, it's going to build off the top of that pile, and it's going to rose like a phoenix here, from the ashes to the phoenix type of thing. So again, there's a reason why I showed you this one, because this type of sentiment, I'm actually seeing it here too.
Through a whole game plan of what?
Right here. So this gentleman here is explaining that he is making, thousands of dollars from, GameStop call option here. Okay, so these are option trader. They are becoming more and more, they call it louder, in the recent time, because you're seeing GameStop jumping from $12 to now $17 in a very short time span. And option trader, just so you know, for people who doesn't know what option is, it's just a contract that is being traded back and forth, right? And usually, market maker are the one who sold those contracts to you. Now, the reason why the price movement based on that is so egregiously high sometimes is because the call volume came in droves, like thousands of contracts a day or a second, so to speak, right? And when you buy a contract, you don't actually invest in the stock per se, but the market maker, because they sold those contracts to you, if it's in the money and the contract is being exercised by the contract holder, they will go out into the market and buy real share, and that's where the price action comes in. But those usually are short-lived. If you look at the price movement for GameStop, obviously at that time you see how the right there, this is when that live stream was being streamed, around this time right here. And so that price movement came in because of the gamma squeeze, so to speak, right? And that terms is going to be more prevalent now. I bet you anything they're going to try to make people feel like, the only way to make money here is to buy call options. Just to preface this ahead of time, it has nothing to do with the fundamental of the company here, although the fundamental is going to be the catalyst to drive the point, the excitement, volume coming in to this company. And again, and you couple that with the fact that the non-existent, shares being traded back and forth, compared to where it used to be before. If you compare before here, like you see the volume is at least 100 million, and even the smallest one right here is 40 million shares being traded back and forth, right? Well, now it's like 3, 2. Oh, this is a week, sorry. In 1 week. Last week it was $25 million. 25 million shares being traded back and forth. So the volume is a lot lower than it used to be. And so when the enthusiastic people coming in, want to replicate these type of return, there's bound to be a price movement that might give some of you a heart attack type of thing. So that's why Braun Kitty was, spot on in that, if you want to trim in and out of this stock, do it responsibly and do it more along the line of what you personally okay with type thing, right? And you have to ask yourself, there's an opportunity to trim in, trim out, but you might not be able to catch it at the bottom here. Or, again, this type of thing is very, very timed sensitive. I don't know. I feel like $10,000 a share might be enticing for me to at least trim out some of my position. Even 1,000 here and there, I might trim a couple shares at a moment's notice. But it really depends on what the exuberance of price movement, what kind we're gonna be able to see in the future here. And I don't know if it's gonna happen this quarter. I tend to believe that they're gonna smack the market down first before that ever happens, and they're gonna use the narrative of recessions looming and all that stuff to try to hammer the stock back down if that were to happen. Now I'm sure at this current state they probably develop a whole bunch of algorithm to try to kill the momentum based on the gamma ram. They could take away volume at any moment's notice. So I'm sure they learned their lesson to not let the stock move up so violently like this. But at the same time too, as an investor, we have built calluses as well based on the price drop too. So again, the lower it drops, the better for long-term investor like us, right? But anyway, so I just thought that I show you that snippet there. But if you want to watch the whole live stream right here, it's like 7 hours. It's pretty fun to watch. But yeah, tomorrow is a trading day. I just thought, to kind of give you that snippet of fun way of thinking about this stock, right? I guess that's all I have. And again, Merry Christmas. Bye.